Ladies and gentlemen, today we will be discussing activities of multinational corporations in developing countries. Multinational corporations, as the name suggests, are the enterprises whose area of working, factories, mines, sales offices are in more than one country of the world. They are also known as transnational corporations, international corporations, or global corporations. You might have heard about Hindustan Levers, Procter & Gamble, Johnson & Johnson, Philips, Colgate, Seat, MRF, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, LG, Nestle, Samsung, Hyundai, General Motors, Ford Motors, so many. I am attaching here with a list of top 10 world MNCs, and also for your knowledge, I am also enclosing the list of 10 top Indian MNCs for your reference. So basically, multinational corporations can be categorized into three categories. One, raw material seeking enterprises. Two, market seeking enterprises. And three, minimum cost seeking enterprises. The history of MNCs is quite vast and long, and if we would like to know why multinationals have become more prominent in the world nowadays, we can call them reasons for the growth of MNCs worldwide. These reasons can be like large capital resources. You would be knowing that MNCs have huge collateral strengths, and as far as the availability of finances to them is concerned, they have huge resources available to them. Then they also have international credibility. Who does not know Maggi produced by Nestle? Or who does not know about the toothpaste produced by Colgate? So the network of their marketing, their technical know-how, their professionalism as far as management is concerned, their brands are so popular that these multinational corporations are becoming household names in all developing countries. They have easy collaborations with all big industrial houses running in the developing countries. Now let us look at the features of multinational corporations. If we look at the multinational corporations spread around the globe, the first feature of them is their giant size. Their assets, their sales, their revenue run into multi-million dollars. If we look at the sales revenue of 200 top MNCs in the world today, it is above 30% of total world GDP. Then they have international operations. Parent company has full control over its subsidiaries, and subsidiaries are spread all over the world, whether it is Latin America, African countries, South Asian region, Australia, wherever, you will find a lot of these companies with international operations. They also transfer resources, whether it is technology, there is managerial ability, inputs, raw materials. They transfer this from host country to subsidiaries. When it comes to their activities, they are indulged in various activities. Their presence can be felt in basic industries, in fast-moving consumer goods sector, in service sector, and also in EOUs, export-oriented units. They have created oligopolistic market for themselves. Oligopolistic market is a situation where small number of large firms dictate the market. They have multilateral ownership. Citizens of many countries have shares in these companies. And they also have multinational management. Experts from several countries work with these MNCs. They have huge financial resources, I've told you. They use advanced technology, are very robust when it comes to research and development. When it comes to competitive edge, nobody can compete them because of their edge over the competitors. So with this background, if you would like to know about the advantages of MNCs in developing countries, we can say very safely that they provide investable resources for these countries. Multinational corporations are like foreign direct investments. They supply capital which helps increasing investment, and this way they help in promoting employment, output and capital formation in developing countries. They provide technological transfers. Normally, developing countries have primitive technology, they are technologically low, and when they come in contact with the multinational corporations, all the workers who are most of them also the locals, when they work with these multinational corporations, they learn with working with each other, with learning from one another. So this way, they teach modern techniques and professional management to the host communities. They provide market services and they have marketing superiority also. Developing countries are not in a position to find market for their products, but since they have global network, these MNCs with public relation network, with advertising, with direct sales calls and other means of promotion, they penetrate deep into the international market. They provide availability of foreign exchange to the host countries. You know very well that for developing countries it is very difficult to earn foreign exchange because their exports are less and imports are more. And because of this mismatch between exports and imports, developing countries find hard to get foreign exchange. So multinational corporations, by investing in these countries, provide easy access to foreign exchange to these countries, which can be used for developmental activity in host countries. Then they also transfer skills and industrial knowledge into host countries. They promote exports by engaging themselves in EOUs. Most of the export processing zones are the centers and places for these multinational corporations. They increase competition, they boost industrialization, they are responsible for horizontal and vertical integration. They lead to trickle-down effect and also help in increasing tax revenue because they comply to the local tax laws. So this way, MNCs in brief help a developing country which is a host country by increasing investment, increasing income and employment. They accelerate the growth process of these countries through transfer of technology, finance, modern management. They are agents of modernization. They promote professional management practices in developing countries. They promote exports of the host country, reduce dependence on imports, help in improving balance of payment situation. Most of the developing countries are facing adverse balance of trade and adverse balance of payment situation because their total foreign exchange receipts are less than total foreign exchange payments. So by providing a background to developing nations, they try to help increasing their exports, not only of export of goods, but also of export of services, and through capital transfers, they help maintaining balance of trade balance. They equalize cost of production in the global market. They increase competition, break monopolies, and most of the multinational corporations, through their CSR, corporate social responsibility, establish social welfare institutions in developing nations. MNCs integrate national and international market, and as we know very well that the world is becoming a global hub, so multinational corporations help opening another window into the rest of the world for the host countries where they are functioning. With this, there is a flip side to multinational corporations also. And today we are debating whether MNCs in third world are predators or allies in economic development. There have been incidences such as improper use in the third world of baby milk formula manufactured by Nestle, the gas leak from a Union Carbide plant in Bhopal, and alleged involvement of foreign funds for overthrowing many of the governments in smaller nations. And these arguments have been used against multinational corporations. There is also evidence that some MNCs have paid huge bribes to the stakeholders in developing countries just to get a foothold in their market. So lot many things are happening which can be easily termed as unethical. They are exploiting cheap labor. The best example is of Nike sports goods. It is said that since there is cheap labor in developing countries, so these multinational corporations like Nike, as they have done in Indonesia and Philippines, they have provided very harsh working conditions to the workers and exploited the cheap labor to enhance their profitability and their existence. There are a lot of externalities they are creating, especially with regard to the chemical pollutions they are spreading. So they are responsible for none because of their huge size. So if you look at these features, lot can be said on disadvantages side of the multinational corporations. For example, it is said that they lead to outflow of funds from host countries in the form of royalty, in the form of management fees, in the form of dividends. They are detrimental to the indigenous producers. The indigenous producers feel marginalized, and virtually multinational corporation gets a monopoly foothold in the host market in absence of competition from the domestic investors. Most of the multinational corporations have established their establishments in those areas where you have access to well-developed infrastructure. So thus they have created unbalanced regional development. They have created mismatch between local resources and the technique they use. Most of the time they are using sophisticated technology, which is labor displacing. And in developing countries where labor is found in abundance and where unemployment problem is such a severe problem, labor displacing technology does not suit developing countries. That is why it is said that they have to think about appropriate technology. They indulge in tax evasion through transfer pricing. The transfer pricing is a concept where multinational corporations, while importing materials, inputs, know-how from their host or parent company, pay very high prices to them. And when we export these products which are produced by MNCs from host countries to the parent country, they are offered very cheap prices. So there is high prices for imports from the parent company and low prices for exports from host countries to their parent company is double exploitation in fact. They indulge in political interference. There are instances when multinational corporations have led to colonialism. You in India very well remember East India Company, which was a multinational corporation. It came as a trading company into India, and then they ruled us for 200 years, and we were enslaved like anything. So they have moral and ethical violations also. They promote demonstration effect by excessive publicity. Their unmatched budgets stifles competition. Competition with small scale industries, with large scale and medium industries for developing countries is difficult. I will give you an example that if a small scale industry makes its own brand, suppose the brand is named as Babua and it has to compete with Liril soap, you will find that Liril soap has many buyers, but Babua soap has no buyer, because Babua has not penetrated deep into the mindset of the buyers, while Liril is famous in remote parts of the world also and in remote parts of the country of India also. Tell me which farmer does not know about Liril, Maggi, etc. or Colgate dental cream. Everybody knows. But domestic products, because they do not have such advertisement gimmick, so they are not known, and if they are not visible, they are not known, how people will buy them. Then multinational corporations have also led to the problem of brain drain. The best brain of the country is engaged by multinational corporations. In fact, it is also the perception of the local population also to join multinational corporation. My father tells me that I must join a multinational corporation, not a small scale entrepreneurship in local market or not a local company. So like my father, many fathers, they are telling their children to join multinational corporation only because they feel that multinational corporations have better prospects of career as compared to the Indian companies. So this is the mindset. It has also led to the growth of monopoly power, because if multinational corporations are visible all around, then domestic companies' visibility will remain very poor. In fact, many a time they will not be visible at all. There are many instances when domestic investors have died their infant death, and infant is a person who has not seen his second birthday. So companies are promoted with a huge enthusiasm, but within 2 years they find no market, they find competition very difficult and die their natural death. So this is what is happening with multinational corporations in developing countries. On the note of technological transfer, just now I said that they lead to technological transfer as per the agreement with the host countries, but they always don't keep these agreements, and on the pretext of technological transfers, only is floor management level or ordinary labor force from the local population is kept in multinational corporations. The top posts are always held by the international staff, and the parent country never allows local talent to top or to acquire the top positions. So where is the technology transfer? Technology transfer is a very low technology which is being transferred. You might have seen when I was studying in Delhi School of Economics, many books were being dumped into Delhi School of Economics which were obsolete in US or UK. So on the pretext of technology, this type of transfers they do. There is no accountability, and if at all there is some accountability, it is very little. They lead to human rights abuses. They create environmental impacts, which is externalities aspects of multinational corporations. So much can be said on disadvantage side of multinational corporations also. Weighing both sides of the coin, that is looking at the advantages of multinational corporations for third world countries and looking at disadvantages of MNCs for third world countries. Now let us analyze whether MNCs are really allies in economic development of developing countries, or they are working as predators for these countries. We have surveys from different countries, Latin American countries, African countries, South Asian nations, and other parts of the world also. There are evidences on both sides. Some countries have really benefited by their presence, and some countries have not benefited at all, and they have paid high cost of MNCs. So in economic parlance, we say that any project which gives you win-win situation is good, and at least it should be win-lose. It should never be lose-lose. So to conclude, one can only say that if the choice is given for host countries whether to accept MNCs or reject them, it would be prudent if only such MNCs are encouraged which are in consonance with needs and means of that country, which do not deflect our focus from the concept of inclusive growth, which help in achieving growth and development and sustainable development. Growth, development and sustainable development, you know very well. So it's not only the aspect of increase in productivity, increased real per capita incomes, increased national incomes, but also justice, social justice, economic justice and political justice, and also responsible use of resources, care for future generation and man-nature harmony. If MNCs can commit to this, which is also known as the concept of sustainability, we should not have any hitch to invite them. In fact, MNCs are coming at the invitation of host countries only. Unless we open the door for them, they will not penetrate by themselves. So if host countries are little bit careful whom to invite, whom not to invite, they can make wonders, but choice will be ultimately of the host country and the wisdom on the part of the host country, how effectively they make use of this choice.